I wanted to play a clip, but I'm going to have to do it when Bob Chapman's on with us, of the FBI director, and it's on Fox News, saying, you know what, I don't know if the president's allowed to kill Americans secretly in America. I got to check with him. And, of course, you know Congress gave Obama that power, but just if they could give him the power to fillet children on the White House lawn, you know, a law that's repugnant is still illegal. Marbury versus Madison, I mean, it's just common sense. There's God's law, common law, organic law, whatever you want to call it. You can pass whatever law you want. You can pass a law saying black people aren't humans, but as soon as they stand up and resist, we know who has the moral authority. And as the founder of the Texas Rangers said, nobody in the wrong can stand up against a man in the right who keeps on a-coming. And the key is when you just stop caring and say, I'm doing what's right, that's the end of it. I'm coming on against your evil. Evil can't stand against that. It can crush some of us individually, but they cannot kill ideas. No army can stop an idea whose time has come. But you know, to look at the NDAA, to look at Obama saying last year, I don't need Congress, I have the UN, and the Congress just sat there. Well, the next step is going to be Obama marching in his thugs to literally look at the senators and say, no, you're not involved in war making, when the Constitution says that's the law. I mean, this is beyond treason. Pastor, what is it when it's beyond treason? We can ask your son, a constitutional lawyer. I've asked him. I mean, it is sedition. When you're working for a foreign power to overthrow the existing government through a national security state, that is a foreign coup d'etat through traitor operatives. But it's not a government. It's a global corporate system, the New World Order. I mean, what do we do about this? I mean, I've gone on air and called for their arrest. I've called for their impeachment. Within an hour, we learned it had already begun, but they're only saying if he doesn't come now and, you know, admit he has to get approval, then the impeachment proceeding begins. What about Libya? We need impeachment now. We need to, I mean, this is outrageous. Impeachment is not enough.
Yeah, I hear you, Alex, and this is why I think it's important that, and this is a whole other topic, but I just think it's incredibly important that we start recognizing the importance of the states, the power and authority that is God-given to the states. Each state is a nation state with its own natural law, rights, and authority that's been granted to us by God. And whenever we became a nation, and the Constitution was ratified and drafted in 1787 and 1789, we did not abandon state governments. We did not become a national government.
Stay there, exactly. Now that the feds have killed the state governments that are still there but dormant and are waking up, now the feds are being told, the Congress is being told, you don't count either. It's the UN, it's NATO. I mean, that's what they're saying. We're going to come back with nullification, states' rights, and the Pentagon plan to crush the states straight ahead.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
Absolutely, completely jam-packed. Third hour today, Bob Chapman on the economy, on the police state. I'm going to premiere a little 3-minute promo of the Dave Mustaine interview. One of the founders of Metallica, Megadeth, rock royalty, came, to Austin, been friends with him for years, but spent time at my home. Just such a great Christian, really strengthened my faith. And I'm not trying to make this religious, but as the world gets worse and worse, I've never hidden my faith. But let me tell you, it's the answer. This is pure evil we're fighting. That's why they're trying to take over the churches. But that Dave Mustaine is going to premiere next hour with some of the zingers of the big hour-and-a-half interview we're going to premiere next week. And I've also got to get into some other videos we're going to air that are just off the charts amazing. Going back to Pastor Chuck Baldwin, the book is Romans 13, The True Meaning of Submission, 2nd edition. Timothy Baldwin, constitutional lawyer, and his father, Chuck Baldwin, both great men, great minds. And also Behind the Green Mask, Unit 21. Both these I'm promoting because they're key info weapons to really unlock minds to understand real threats. And they tie together, both available at Infowars.com. Now, going back to Pastor Chuck Baldwin, I know you've probably got to go. If you want to stay 5 minutes to the next hour, you can, and we'll then go to Bob Chapman after that. But if you got to go here in 3 minutes, I understand. I should have asked you during the break. But getting into state nullification, I've confirmed under the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, I've confirmed from military sources, the feds are preparing to militarily try to invade the states. Remember last year when they said no to TSA? The feds said, we'll run a combat blockade of your airwaves with F-16s. I mean, it just shows how the federal government has been captured by foreign criminals. And but it is the solution. That's why they're so scared of it, Pastor.
Yeah, there's no question. The Federalist Papers, even Alexander Hamilton was very clear that they anticipated that it would be the states that would jealously guard the liberties and freedoms of the citizens within the states against the overreach of the federal government. So this is something that historically true, goes all the way back to the foundation of our country and the formation of our Constitution. And I think now there are some states that are beginning to awaken and to reexert their authority under the Constitution and to begin to resist some of these tyrannical tendencies of the federal government. And I think, you know, what you just said there a minute ago, let's not forget, too, that there's a lot of constitutionalist, God-fearing men in our military that understand what's going on. And they just flat will not participate in some kind of a coup against the Constitution and the American people if that was suggested or required.
Do you agree with me that the coup with these announcemements of NDAA and telling Congress they have no authority over war, is the coup not taking place publicly right now?
Sure it is. It always does. It always has. I mean, that's what was done in Germany. That's what was done in China. It's always done publicly first because you have to prepare the minds and the hearts of people for what is coming. You can't just surprise them with it. They would react negatively. So you have to prepare them emotionally and psychologically and mentally, etc. So that's exactly what they're doing. They're in that stage right now where they're trying to prepare the hearts and the minds of people for what they have in store for us.
And that's why we've got to fight as hard as we can to answer it and say no, exactly. No.
That's why your show is so important. That's why all these folks around the country that are standing up for freedom and liberty and the constitutional government, that's why their voices are so important. And that's why it's critically important that we get the information that you're talking about into the hands of the people, because an informed society will not enslave itself. They will resist, and God will be with them, and God will strengthen them, and God will encourage them, and I believe that He will help and assist them just as He did our founding fathers over 200 years ago.
Amen to that. I tell you what, stay there. Back in 1 minute, 5 more minutes with Pastor Chuck Baldwin. We'll be right back. Pastor Chuck Baldwin is our guest. I want to get him to join us in the near future and with video Skype, another dimension. I know we're going out on XM channel 166, over 100 AM and FM stations, and number 1 in audio streams and podcasts for a political talk show at Infowars.com. Thanks to all of you spreading the word and our tireless efforts here in the crew. But I do look forward to getting him on video Skype so folks can actually see him who are watching on prisonplanet.tv. We got about 5 minutes in this segment, and Bob Chapman's coming up. And exclusive excerpts of the Dave Mustaine interview and a big breakdown of a bunch of news. I'm going to expose this new Coney 2012 thing about invading Africa. It's all the UN and others behind that, so we're going to be breaking that down as well. Finishing up, Pastor, in the time we have, with the states' rights movement, the system is attacking that because, as you said, they know that's one of the keys that the founders gave us to reverse this. But I'm also just want to point out, now the UN, through the president, saying, Congress, you don't count. First they nullify the states. Now they're nullifying the federal government. Now it's totally clear. You know, not only are the states in trouble, the federal government's being taken over, sir.
Yeah, I think the goal all along was to bring an international element to the governments of our country. They see America as the big prize. It's the big apple that's got to fall from the tree in order to merge together this new world order, this global society. And of course, it's all generated by money. It's generated by international bankers and international corporations who really are encumbered with all of these national rules and regulations governing commerce. And what they want to do is they want to break down those barriers so that they can interact internationally as they would interact nationally. And that's been the goal, I think, all along. And you've trumpeted that for many years, as many of us have. And so I think what we're seeing here is the second step. As you said, first let's just nullify the states instead of the states nullifying unlawful government from the federal government. Let's nullify the states, and now let's nullify Congress so that we can bring about this globalist union that we want to create. And that's been the goal all along. I think it's just been a matter of steps.
Well, our job's easier than ever because we warn people about the New World Order. Ron Paul did, you did, countless others did. For so long, we got laughed at and made fun of because we were informed. Now everybody's like, wow, everything you said's coming true. So I don't think they counted on us being there for the last, 30, 40, 50 years, some people. Yeah. In the case of G. Edward Griffin or people like Bob Chapman or Red Beckman. And I think that's our real ace in the hole. And as you said, Providence. History's shown that when good people take action, Martin Luther King said the universe bends towards justice.
I truly believe that God is the author of freedom, not government. God is the founder of freedom. He is a promoter of freedom. His children have always been involved in the freedom fight in one way or the other. He has inspired men from Moses all the way through the Judges, the Old Testament prophets, and the New Testament apostles, who stood up and fought for liberty and the principles of freedom that was established by God, our Creator, who gives us a free will to choose Him as our Savior and who wants us to serve Him by our will and by our choice. And so God is the promoter of freedom. He's the defender of freedom. And when men and women stand up courageously, indefatigably, for the principles of freedom, I believe with all my heart that God will fight with us. He did it for our forefathers, and I believe He'll do it for us.
But we've got to, I've seen it in my own life. When I go through a fear, through a concern, I can feel these developmental thresholds that when I just say, you know what, I'm giving it to you, God, but then take action on faith, that's when the power kicks in. And I've seen it, Pastor. I know it's real.
Yep, me too. I agree with you, and I think you're doing a great job, and I hope your listeners will get that book, Romans 13, and get it in the hands of as many of their friends as they can. And believe me, when they read that book, the light will come on.
Give it to your pastor today, a key weapon in the InfoWar. Thank you, Pastor. We'll be back with Bob Chapman.
Thanks, Alex.
What's up with these sorry politicians? Lots of bark. When it's showtime, whimpering like little Shih Tzus. You want big cuts. Ron Paul's been screaming it for years. Budget crisis? No problem. Got $1 trillion year one. That's trillion with a T. Department of Education? Gone. Interior, Energy, HUD, Commerce? Gone. Later, bureaucrats. That's how Ron Paul rolls. Want to drain the swamp? Ron Paul. Do it.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.